Welcome to this webinar with the topic Improving Master Data Management, Finance, Sales Distribution and HCM Processes with Winshuttle. My name is Mäkelä. I'm the Managing Director of Adsotech, and I will make this presentation. And I have with me Niilo, Tiili, who is customer support for Adsotech, and he will make product demonstrations. The agenda for today looks like this. First of all, I want to review a little bit about recent improvements to SAP and what the effect of these are. Then let's go through the Winshuttle products and look at the benefits of using Winshuttle products from a customer perspective. We will then show you a little bit how the products work and then look at product demonstrations. The product demonstrations are divided into two parts. The first part, item number 4, will cover Excel-based demonstrations. And after the Excel-based demonstration, we will look at Winshuttle workflows and then take a look at the workflow demonstration. And the last topic is who is Adsotech and who is Winshuttle. What has happened recently with the SAP ERP system? A lot of different things have been developed. Fiori, screen personas, and SAP HANA, for example. And several customers have already implemented these type of features or converted to SAP HANA. What kind of improvements do these improvements provide to, let's say, ordinary end users for mass data management, for master data management, and for process improvement? Clearly, Fiori and screen personas makes it easier for end users to work with SAP when we talk about individual transactions, and SAP HANA will make SAP much faster, but there is still a need to improve mass data management processes, and SAP has really not provided anything new in these areas. The old LSMW product is still there, and in fact we have seen that SAP has announced that they will not guarantee that the LSMW product would work properly, correctly with SAP HANA, for example, and SAP has come out with some other tools to manage mass data management processes, which again are not targeted for ordinary end users, but more for experts. Now, the Winshuttle product is a very simple product. As you know, it's a simple product to upload data from Excel to SAP, to different SAP modules, or to download data from SAP to Excel. And the product supports the SAP ERP system and different modules within that system. The product doesn't support, for example, applications that SAP has purchased, for example, Ariba or some other applications, or it doesn't support dialogues which are based on NetWeaver and web dialogues. It supports the normal GUI-based processes. What kind of benefits have our customers achieved with the product? I'm talking here about benefits that customers have shared with us in SAP user group meetings, in our seminars, and that we are allowed to disclose here, so there is no proprietary or information that we wouldn't be able to talk about freely. ABB in Finland, for example, when they started to use the product, after about 6 months of usage, I called them and asked, have they had any benefits of using the product, and they said that they had actually saved about 6 months' time in data cleansing processes. And I was very surprised about this and questioned them, how is it possible that during 6 months you have saved 6 months? They said, you know, we had a big backlog of work to do. We had never time to start to do that work. But, and it was estimated to take about 6 months' time. And when we implemented Winshuttle, we did it in a very, very short time and calculated that we saved about 6 months' time. ABB is using the product now for normal business processes, and of course occasionally they do data cleansing also if necessary. Stora Enso Hylte plant in southern Sweden saved many months in a big reorganization of their plants, and today Stora Enso is rolling out the product for other processes, for example financial processes and HR processes. Adsotech has been using the product for many different processes, but the lady who is in charge of the HR application told us that when they acquire, for example, new companies, it typically takes them for them about 2 days to merge the company data from old existing systems into SAP. So they save a lot of time in these routines, plus many other routines also. Fazer is one of our oldest customers in Finland. When they implemented SAP, they used the product for data migrations and maintenance of master data to put everything in place. They reckon that they saved about 50 man-years in the project with the product. And today they are using the product in day-to-day financial processes. Maersk Line is a very large organization. They have automated almost 200 different accounting processes, from journal entry uploads to invoice creation, and their savings are really dramatically large. They have calculated that they can save, for example, you can see here, shorten a process that takes or took 150 seconds to 15 seconds only, and clear payment process from 90 seconds to 9 seconds. And of course, if you have a lot of these processes repeated every day by many people, you get large savings also. Overall, the savings have been about 50 full-time employees per annum with the product. And totally about 15% increase in productivity. Ericsson, a Swedish company, they are using the product for many different purposes, but they had in Estonia, for example, a big project where they were changing electrical meters, and they saved a huge number of hours there. Just for sales order creation alone, it would have taken about 150 man-days to do, but 5,000 work hours were saved by using Winshuttle in that case. UPM, an example from human resources usage. They use the product in a shared service center in Poland, and when they employ new people, for example, every summer or spring interns, for example, they use the product for mass data loading. And typically this process is a very cumbersome, long process, because when you employ new people, add new people to the SAP system, you need to go through 25 different screens. And it takes a long time to go through each screen, and takes about 20 minutes per person to be hired. With the Winshuttle product, you can upload all the data by entering the data into an Excel spreadsheet, and on the average, this 20-minute process can be saved to about 2 minutes per employee to be hired. Of course, this data needs to be received from somewhere, from the department or different departments that are making the hiring decisions, but when they provide the data in Excel format, it's a very easy task for the shared service center to execute the processes. Here is one example from United States from HR. In this specific case, we can see two different transactions, PA30 and PA40. This company has calculated that during a period of 2 months, 60 days, they saved about 500 days, man days, in using Winshuttle to maintain HR master data with PA30. In total, there were about 400,000 records that were loaded in this task. You can see here 400,000 records and 540 days saved. They saved over 600 days in executing PA40 transactions, even if the transaction volume, the sum of records, was much smaller. Why is it like this? Now, it all depends on the complexity of the different transactions you execute. The PA40 transactions in this specific case were more complicated and time-consuming than the PA30 transactions, and therefore the savings were much larger. We did a study in the Nordic countries about how our customers are using Winshuttle products, and the data came from about 65 different customers, and here is a snapshot of different transactions that have been executed. In total, there were about 700 different SAP transactions that were part of this study. About 100 of these transactions were set transactions, customized user transactions, and about 600 were standard SAP transactions. And here you can see some of the volumes for certain specific transactions. For example, the creation of a condition records and so on. The savings were huge. On the average, each person who is using the Winshuttle product saves the equivalent of the time of 2 other people working in the organization. And I have one customer in Norway, Statoil, who shared this information to me and said, please feel free to tell everybody about this. Arvid Knapskog has used the product in a project that took for him about 2 months to do. And he saved a tremendous amount of time in that project. He claimed that he saved 4,000 hours himself, just himself. And he got this statistical information from the Winshuttle product because it collects information about how the transactions are executed, how long it takes, and how long it would normally provide to execute transactions like these in the normal traditional manual way. And Arvid has been working in Statoil 33 years, and he has been using the Winshuttle products for 9 years. And the statistics says that he has saved for Statoil 64 man-years by using the products. So double the time that he has been working in Statoil, and this saving has been achieved during 9 years. So 9 years working with the Winshuttle product has saved 64 years. Now, how does this magic work? It's a simple thing. When people are developing routines to build these scripts that are executed then automatically, it's a recording, mapping, and testing or running process. You record the transaction that you want to automate, start the process under the Winshuttle product, and then you go through each screen and each data field that you would need in the process by touching these fields and make a small change to them so that we notice that you want to have these fields in the Excel process. Thereafter, you can map the different fields that you have been touching from an Excel embryo or an existing Excel by dragging each field from the Excel up to the list of fields that you have been touching. Or you can do it the other way, that you direct the process from the list of fields that you see here on the screen down to the Excel, which means simply that you want to read the data from SAP and not upload it. And you can mix in the same process fields that you upload and you take from the SAP down. Then when you have done the mapping, you can start to test the routine and then distribute it to your end users. And when they execute the load process, they can see each record that is uploaded or is updating SAP, whether it went well or if there was an error in the process, and they can correct the error by correcting the respective value. Here, for example, the weight unit is wrong, and then run again this upload, and only the corrected fields are then uploaded. Now, I want to share one customer case here also, and this is from Mäkelä. Maybe Karsten, you are here listening to this webinar. Do you want to say anything about this, or shall I talk?
Well, please, because you're welcome. I don't know what you have in mind to say, so please go ahead.
Okay.
But, feel free to ask if you have any questions.
Yeah, it's about the linked scripts. Now, when I mentioned Arvid Knapskog from Statoil, how on earth could he save so much time? Now, he had a long, for example, in the project, he had a very, very long process that involved 28 or 29 different scripts. And he actually automated all these scripts and linked them together or chained them together so they were executed automatically. So each time he started the process, 29 or 28 different things were happening automatically. And the same thing is happening at Mäkelä also when Karsten is doing changes to product specifications. And Karsten, I recall you said that something that has taken maybe 2 hours for you to do can be done in 2 minutes by using Excel uploads.
Correct, and that one linked script alone has saved thousands of man hours, and it's funny for me because it was actually the first script that we ever developed. It was a proof of concept script that we developed or together with Jan Madsen from Adsotech, and that one script solved the whole product, and it's still being used on a daily basis, and it hasn't changed since.
Yeah, and thank you, Karsten, to you for creating this. We didn't actually realize that this could be done. We were quite new also in delivering Winshuttle at that point of time, but thanks to what you did and what you challenged us to do with Jan Mattsson, has saved a lot of time in many other companies because we have shared this story to so many people and they have picked up your ideas. So you can see that you have done good work in the SAP community.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's time to show this in reality. And Niilo Tiili will run for you first of all a material creation execution where we have different aspects of the material that is created. He will then make a demonstration of a round-trip change where we take out data from SAP, then we make changes, and then we upload the changes back. And then the last part of his demonstration will be recording of a script, how this script is developed. And if you don't have any other questions, I will pass the control to Niilo here so he can start to show this to you.
Okay, hello everyone, this is Niilo talking. Hopefully you all can see my screen now. It's an Excel sheet that you should see now. As Crystal told you, this is an existing script that is published into this Excel file. So as you can see, there are tens of fields to be uploaded to SAP, about 45 different fields. And actually there are about 15 different SAP screens involved when each of these material is created. Okay, so I will run the script simply by clicking the Run icon and entering my credentials. And the script starts to run. I will show you actually the log columns here to see the progress. So it doesn't take more than that to add a new material with 15 screens and about 45 fields uploaded to SAP. Okay, that's it. Just a few seconds to add 15 or 14 new materials. Very typical case of using the mass upload features of Winshuttle. Next, I will show you a thing called round trip, or demonstrate a round trip feature. Let's imagine a scenario where I get an email from my supervisor saying that, for example, our line of black iPhones has been discontinued and replaced with red iPhones. Please make the changes in our SAP accordingly as soon as possible. Okay, luckily I have already available a query script and a transaction script to accomplish that task. So I will start by logging into Winshuttle first of all. And I will select a query script. Query is another product of Winshuttle used for querying data. And I run the script, enter my credentials, and I have a possibility to enter some filtering info here. I select the defaults, click OK, and I will get the list of materials related to iPhones. Actually, 30 different materials here, and as I was told to replace the black ones with red, actually I will just for demonstration purposes update the material description here. So sorry, select find and replace. I want to replace the black ones with red. Say replace all. It says all done. We made 10 replacements. Okay. Then I want to upload this data back to SAP. So I filter. My Excel to contain only the appropriate data, so I want only the red ones here, like this. And to upload this data to SAP, I select another script, which is a transaction script which will actually do the upload process. I select. I define that I want to process only the filtered rows that are showing here, like this, and then I say run specified range. And now I am uploading the changed data to SAP. Okay. Took about 15 seconds to upload this new data to SAP, and now I'm ready to report to my supervisor that the job is done. The SAP data is updated. So this is a typical example of a round-trip functionality of Winshuttle. You first use a query script to query information from your SAP database. Then you make some changes, either manually or using any functionality that Excel provides you. And then you use another script, a transaction script, to upload the new data to or the modified data to SAP.
Thank you, Niilo. I would like to say a comment here. I mean, this example is a very simple case. We don't claim that product specification changes are made in this way. Of course, there are much more complicated things, more data that needs to be changed. But this could be an example of a data cleansing task, for example. Let's assume that somebody has entered new products into the system, and that person has made typographical errors, written something wrong. And you can, with this example, you could very fast, for example, correct all the wrong information in the system. And with this example, we wanted to show you the synergy between Excel functionality and Winshuttle, so that the combination of you use Excel features as well as Winshuttle features to get the optimum result here. Okay, Niilo, you can continue with your demo.
All right, we'll close this Excel file and show you how to actually create a new script. I will create a new script that will be used to change material information. So I will select the SAP system that I want to use during the recording. And I specify the SAP transaction code that I want to record. Click Start Recording. Okay, and finally the MMO2 transaction pops up for me, so I just start using it. I specify the material number, select the view, and then simply start by entering something into each and every field that I want to upload data to. Go to basic data to view and change something here as well. When I'm done with the updating the fields, I save the data, And now Winshuttle is gathering information about the SAP screens and field that I visited during the recording and brings that data back to my workstation for the next step, which is the mapping process. So the recording process has now been completed, and the next step is to create the mapping. As Christer told you, mapping means actually connecting the Excel columns to corresponding SAP fields. So you tell Winshuttle which SAP column contains, for example, material number, which column contains the gross weight and net weight, etc. Okay, here, and the mapper opens up automatically for me. So these are the fields here in the upper part of the window or the screen. These are the fields that I typed something into during the recording. Now I start the mapping simply by dragging column A to material number here. And as a result of this mapping process, the mapping type is uploaded here, is updated here, and here you can see the corresponding Excel column. And the value that I used during the recording is automatically put here in column A. Okay. So I continue with material description, base unit of measure, cross weight, weight unit, net weight, and finally the memo field or description field. Now that I'm done with the mapping, I save both files. So this Excel file is actually created as a result of this mapping process. As Christer told you, if you have an existing Excel file, you can use it here as well. Okay, and the third step is running or testing the newly created script. Let's test. Material was changed. Seems like my script is working as expected. To test with some more materials, I actually take this opportunity to show you the read from SAP functionality as well. So I specify that these fields will be read from or downloaded from SAP to Excel like this instead of uploading. So the only thing I have to do here is to specify the to specify the material numbers here that I want information for. Okay. And then I run my script. Okay, these two material does not exist at all. Clear them. Okay, now I'm ready to do some changes to my materials here. I will clear out the log. of course, I have to change the direction because now I want to upload data to SAP. And I run my script. Okay. Yes, it seems to work. Okay, let's do some changes here to demonstrate you a thing called validation. By clicking this validate button, my script runs, but nothing will be uploaded to SAP. Winshuttle will kind of simulate the upload process. It just makes sure that the data you have in your Excel is valid. And if it's valid, you get the success message in the validate log column here. As you can see, I have 2 typing errors here. So now I have a possibility to fix all of them at once, so the execution does not stop when an error is encountered, but it is continued from the next line. Now that I have fixed my typing errors, I have possibility to run the error rows only, the rows that contained an error during the previous run, so to speak. Oh, sorry, my mistake. I didn't upload anything. I just make a validation now that I fixed my errors and I run my script now. Of course, I will not get any errors. Yeah. Actually, I will update the values a bit. So to show you the next feature, which is a thing called backup. What if I want to take backup before I upload my data to SAP? Well, I check this little backup checkbox here and run my script. And what happens before anything is uploaded to SAP? A new sheet is generated for me here called BK underscore and the date and time of the run, where the data is backed up. Before anything was changed, the backup was taken into this sheet here. Now each time I run my script, and the backup data option is set, each time a new sheet is generated for me. As you can see. Okay. Now restoring the data is very simple. You just select the sheet and click Run, and these values will be used to execute the script.
Okay, Niilo.
Yep.
That was I guess all for the Excel demonstration. So Any questions to Niilo while I'm taking control? Okay, you should see my screen now. So we have been very much focused on materials. The topic of the seminar is improving finance processes, material management, sales distribution, HR. So maybe I should show you something from finances. Here is one example of an Excel spreadsheet, which is a financial transaction. And you can see that this spreadsheet contains different fields, not just columns and rows. So it has been formatted so that we have different fields here with the headers, and then we have columns and rows with the actual financial transactional information. And here we had the header information. So you can develop these scripts in such a way that they are, from the end user perspective, very easy to use. And they can contain also a lot of logic inside. For example, here we are calculating the difference between the debit and credit so that a person doesn't execute a transaction which is not correct. And you can see that in this case we have a debit and credit field separately and not the Haber-Sol indicator that SAP is using. On the other hand, here, okay, here is a similar transaction, but this is a mass upload transaction where we have everything in an Excel spreadsheet and the debit and credit columns in separate fields. What we have been looking at so far has been usage of the product as a desktop product. And typically, this is the starting point when somebody is starting to use Winshuttle. They use them to automate certain manual tasks, master data related or transactional tasks. But as they use the product, then the appetite grows and soon they start to think about other possibilities to use the product and start to think about workflows, and I'm going to talk a little bit about workflows now. Sorry about this hiccup with my presentation. This picture shows the world in 1960, about 1960. I mean, it's not any exact picture of the world at that point of time, but what I'm trying to explain with this is that in 1960s, all countries were, or most of the countries were working, especially in the Nordic countries, we were working as very local countries. We did our business within the country. We didn't have so much activities outside in the world. Finland, for example, had, I think, one multinational company called Stora Enso that had a subsidiary in Netherlands. Volvo had some factories in Canada and one in USA, and Electrolux had something, and Ericsson maybe something. But today the world looks totally different. These dots here don't represent any exact numbers of companies, but it shows just the, let's say, magnitude of global organizations. Finland has about 4,000 global organizations that have a headquarters in Finland but have subsidiaries in other countries. Sweden has probably about 8,000, and Denmark maybe something between 4,000 and 8,000, perhaps even more. What is this situation representing then? There's a lot of communication between these different headquarters and subsidiaries, and SAP is used everywhere, and there's data flowing in all kinds of directions. I mean, it's a lot of data that is processed every day, and emails are sent back and forth with all kinds of requests of tasks to be done and so on. And I think that there is perhaps a need for better tools to communicate, better tools than emails. To be honest, the email system was invented sometimes in mid-90s, 1995, and we still use email almost in the same way as we used it in 1995. And typical emails are lost. They are perhaps incomplete. They are not actioned in time. And I feel that it's time to change the way that we are working, and I hope you agree also. Karsten, do you agree with me?
Yes, I certainly do, and that's one of the reasons I'm joining into this specific webinar. It's for the exact reasons you said when you started. That people they start using the basic product and they get acquainted with it, and then they get more hungry. And the companies that I work for are looking to grow now and looking for opportunities within the Winshuttle products to improve business communication. So absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. I think the workflow is the solution to replace partly email. I mean, we cannot get rid of emails totally, and there's no need to do that, but workflows are perhaps a more efficient way to conduct business, to do certain businesses. And I looked in Wikipedia, what is the definition of workflow, and find this definition that a workflow consists of an orchestrated and repeatable pattern of business activity, which is enabled by the systematic organization of resources into processes that transform materials, provide services, or process information. I think this is a very good explanation of what the workflow is. And the workflow can be depicted as a sequence of operations declared as a work of a person or a group of people, an organization, or staff, or one or more simple or complex mechanisms. This is exactly what Wikipedia says. I haven't changed anything. And if you look at the workflow processes that can be built with Winshuttle products, they kind of support just, they are just exactly things that correspond with this definition in Wikipedia. So let's see here. Here is an example of a workflow process where somebody requests something to be done. It could be creation of material, it could be hiring of a person, it could be posting a financial transaction in the closing process. And this request is then sent to a manager who will review it and hopefully approve it. However, there may be something incomplete in this request, and instead of sending an email back to the requester, the manager responds to this request in the workflow, and the requester gets this question and then corrects the data or amends the data and sends it back to the manager, who then approves it. And as there are more people in the organization that needs to be involved in the workflow process, then the workflow is sent by the manager, or it goes automatically to the different departments and people that need to handle this. For example, if we create material, we need to complete sales data, we need to complete plant data, and finally we need to provide accounting data. And then when the whole process is finalized, then the data is posted into SAP. And these people that are involved here, if necessary, they can get information back that they have been, that the tasks have been completed, or if you want to do it, you could also send an email notification that the task is completed and the work is done. We have here one example from a real customer case where the material creation involves 486 different fields to be completed, data fields. Now, when the workflow process was developed, only 145 data fields need to be entered by the user. So how is this possible? How can the system know what the user wants to do? Now, the trick is here that you can build rules into the workflow and into the process that determines the values of different fields based on previous values in some other fields, so that the end user doesn't need to fill out all the information that needs to be filled, as you saw in the material creation Excel example, for example, today when we loaded the data via Excel. And all kinds of rules, controls can be built in the background also, so that the data quality can be improved. And for example, where we have, as an example, a financial process, closing process, where there are over 2,000 users in the organization worldwide providing financial transactions every month at the end of the month. And the quality of the data that goes into the financial closing process is probably almost 100% correct. You know, there are no errors in the data, thanks to the workflow that has been built. And everything goes in this orchestrated, controlled way. You know, everybody keeps the same, you know, pace. It's like you have the dirigent, you know, leading the orchestra. You know, it's the workflow engine that is driving everything forward. Now here you can see some examples of forms that are part of a material creation process. You can have drop-down fields and things like that, so you can select the data. And I'm not going to explain this in detail to you. You can see that there is a lot of information that flows here in the workflow, and Niilo will show you very shortly this workflow also, just the beginning of it. Now, how are these workflows developed? Basically, they are developed initially a little bit in the same way as the scripts. You need to record all the different scripts that are basically communicating with SAP to retrieve data from SAP in the workflow, or to load the data, or to update the data. And this is done in the same way as you record these normal Excel-based scripts. But then you need to design the actual flow of the data, all the different rules in the workflow, and then you need to design the forms. And then you publish into SharePoint and start to use it. The whole process is, you know, you need to design this like any application system that you would develop in your organization, define the user requirements, and even if we can do a workflow in 10-15 minutes, in reality, when you start to develop these workflows for production purposes, it takes several weeks per workflow, typically, if you have very complex processes, because you need to take into consideration the whole organization, all the rules and interaction between people. Here is the way you use, you draw the actual flow of the workflow. You use the Winshuttle provided tool, a graphical design tool to do this. And then the actual definition, creation of the different forms is, instead of mapping Excel to the different fields that you have been used in the script, you have developed, or the system develops for you, web services, and from these web services you use the designer tool to define the attributes of the different fields you have on the forms, headers and length and format and all the different rules. Here on the right hand side you have the different controls that you can use in the system. It's a non-programming approach. It's not very easy. You need to have proper education to do it, but it can be done by people also that don't have deep programming knowledge. Here is an example of a financial form from a financial workflow, for example. You can also use Excel here to upload data into the form. You don't need to enter everything into the form, and you can take out data also to Excel if you wish. The benefit of workflow systems is clearly improved productivity, better service to business users, end users, reduced cost and improved data quality. And here is one example from a big global organization, Coca-Cola, that you can see they have their maturity in master data management and using Winshuttle products is very high, and they measure everything they do. And you can see that when they started to use the product, what the transaction volumes were, for example, in customer data maintenance, and how the transaction volumes have moved, changed from year to year. But the cost of processing data has gone down all the time. And of course, there is a limit how low you can go. You can't go to zero, probably ever, but you can go to a fairly low level. Here another example from material data management where you can see the transaction volumes and the total service cost and cost per transaction. So this is the result of a systematic approach to tackle the challenges that they have had. Now we have a couple of 2 minutes time to show a material creation workflow, how it works in practice. Niilo, if you can be very fast, I appreciate. Yeah. I would appreciate that. Yes. I'll try to pass the control to you again. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hopefully you see my screen now. You should see an Winshuttle material creation form at the moment. This is just a draft, so as Christos told you, I'm going to show you a couple of features. You just have possibility, of course, to enter material number and different kind of drop-down fields. The data for these fields are coming from SharePoint lists or Winshuttle query product, or Winshuttle queries are used to create these drop-down lists. And these, the contents of these lists can be dynamic, so that if you choose a value from here, you get the different set of values here. So it changes dynamically. So I will change something here. And when I'm done with my basic data, I can validate by clicking. Oh, wait, it's creating. Validate. This is the same validation script that I showed you previously. So it's Winshuttle transaction that is working behind the scenes. Now I got the success message here, and I am ready to continue by entering the plant and distribution channel information here. So I have the same kind of fields available here. And if I want to enter another line, detail line, I click Add New Detail Line and select values for that as well. And when I'm done with my all the necessary information, I can write a comment here. Please create this as a SAP. it is needed tomorrow. And when I click this Save and Route button here, all the approvers, all the predefined approvers, the persons defined as approvers will get an email saying that, hey, you have a task pending. And when either one of those approvers opens up his task, he has an opportunity to either approve or reject my request here. And depending on that, I will get an email that your request has been approved or rejected, and the workflow can continue. And finally, the one that has a right to actually create the material will click a button to create the material. So that is it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
We can see a beautiful portrait of you, Krista.
Okay.
We can see you and your screen.
All right. Webcam.
Yes.
Can I get, is it the way now?
Yeah.
Okay. What about my screen?
Your screen is showing.
Okay. So sorry to run over the time, allocated time here. That I just want to share something about Winshuttle. Winshuttle was founded in 2003, and they have headquarters in both LITs. It's in Seattle, and they have offices in UK, in London, in Germany, in Munich, and in Paris and Madrid, and then 2 offices in India, development and support offices there. They have about 2,000 customers worldwide today. So products are certified, of course, by SAP and Microsoft. Adsotech, we are the reseller of Winshuttle in the Nordic countries. We have been working with Winshuttle since 2005, and we are extremely proud to say that we are the largest Winshuttle partner in the world. We have been that since we started every consecutive year. And today there are over 90 Nordic headquartered organizations that we have delivered Winshuttle products to in the Nordic countries. And here are some of our customers in the different Nordic countries. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now, and you can send me emails also if you wish.
Well, thank you, Krista. I'll be continuing later on.